Hello, I'm Chris Jervis. Ever since I became a Christian about the age of 18, I've been passionate about the Bible, properly understood, the scriptures being taught accurately, well, and with application. And that's been a passion of mine for many, many years. I've also spent a long time teaching and lecturing on philosophy, science, and religion, another of my passions. If you go back to February 2009, there appeared on a building site in the middle of London crane and diggers. That certainly would have excited my grandchildren. But 3.5 years after that, suddenly the Shard appeared. Well, not that suddenly, because some days the construction went up by 3 metres a day. It topped out at 95 floors and 300 metres in height. But for a long time, nothing went up. The digging went down. And the reason for that is that foundations had to be laid. They had to be firm and secure if they're going to support such a structure. And that's true of all life. Every good enterprise must have good foundations. No wonder then that Jesus spoke about foundations in his famous parable of the wise and the foolish builders in Matthew chapter 7. We are going to look at the opening chapters of Genesis. And over a series of videos, we're going to look at Genesis chapters 1 to 3 and appreciate how foundational they are. How important they are to understanding relationships in particular. They are essential. Back in 1927, there was a Belgian priest called Georges Lemaitre. He was one of the first people to observe that the universe that we occupy is expanding. And if it's expanding today, tomorrow, what about winding the clock back? What about considering what it was like yesterday, a year ago, 1,000,000 years ago? Contracting to what he called a singularity, such an infinitesimally dense soup of subatomic particles. That understanding of the universe was backed up by observations by Edwin Hubble. But if what came to be understood as the Big Bang theory of origins was to be confirmed, 2 more bits of essential information or evidence needed to be gathered. And so it was that Penzias and Wilson discovered cosmic background radiation, the very thing one would anticipate if there was this mighty explosion. And the further bit of evidence was the ratio of hydrogen to helium in the universe. Well, that was the beginnings of an understanding of the Big Bang theory, but certain parts of it were inaccurate or required fine-tuning. And so Steven Weinberg wrote a very famous book called The First 3 Minutes. And in that he saw through those first 3 minutes of the universe how certain things fell into place. Well, we're looking at Genesis, the first 3 chapters. So if the first 3 minutes is Weinberg's explanation of the origins of the universe, the foundations upon which all followed, then you could say that Genesis, the first 3 chapters, is the origin of a foundational universe, of a relational universe, of a universe where peoples relate, including the persons of the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. But of course, the Big Bang Theory doesn't take us back to the origins in the sense that it doesn't explain how something came from nothing. Because the laws of physics upon which it's predicated break down when you get to that infinitesimally dense soup of subatomic particles. So we go back to a thing called Planck time, 10 to the minus 43 seconds. But what we're looking at in Genesis chapter 1 is not creation, but pre-creation. Initially, we start with pre-creation, before time and space came to be. In fact, the word before is slightly odd if time has its origin in the creation. So we need a new word to describe that. And we get the word eternity, eternal. And in God's eternal state, we're going to observe certain things. We're going to look through a series of programs or videos at the first 3 chapters, and we're going to be analytical and thoughtful and biblical and reflective. What might we learn from those first 3 chapters? My purpose is that we really do promote biblical thinking and understanding, that we get a greater personal devotion to the God who is and the God who is totally committed to us, and a better way of relating to God and to other people. So the first talk in this series, Genesis, the first 3 chapters, will be exactly what you expect. Those first 4 words of the Bible, in the beginning, God. And that's the right place to start. In the beginning, God. So thank you for watching, and look out for the first of those 40 videos on Genesis, the first 3 chapters.